It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me. Craig, shut up.
Hey, I need you guys to do these things.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So welcome to Reality Check with Craig Price. I am your host, Craig Price. This week, Mark Rodgers is here to talk about persuasion. I want to thank everybody for listening. And before we start, I want to take a brief moment to let my Madison, Wisconsin listeners know that on Thursday, May 16th, I will be in Madison, Wisconsin to present at the Project Management Institute Professional Development Day. I will be presenting a 2-hour interactive workshop on negativity in the morning, and today's guest, Mark Rodgers, will be doing the lunch keynote and presenting a session in the afternoon. Also at the event, past Reality Check guests Michael Redmond and Gina Abudi also are going to be there doing sessions, so I encourage you to go to realitycheckpodcast.com and listen to their episodes as well. Then you can join us, again, Thursday, May 16th, at the Alliant Energy Center at 7:45 a.m. That's kind of early. Yes, but 7:45 a.m. for a great day of project management education. Head over to PMI-Madison.org for more information. I look forward to seeing some of you there. Please let me know if you are a listener at the event. If you come up, say hello. If you do, I will give you a copy of my book, Half a Glass, The Realist Guide, but you have to actually come up and talk to me. I promise I won't bite, and if we run out of books, if you say hello and give me your card, I will mail you, free of charge, a copy of my book, Half a Glass, The Realist Guide. So let's get right to it and listen to my conversation with Mark Rodgers. Now, persuasion is something that I believe almost every person wants, whether they are actively pursuing the ability to persuade others, or it's just a subconscious thing that they want to be able to persuade people. They want to feel like their input is valuable. And where do you think that people make mistakes when they try to be persuasive? Is it just being too obvious, or what are the things that people do wrong when they try to be persuasive?
Well, Craig, that's a great question. And the first thing that you need to recognize is that most people don't think of persuasion actually as a field of endeavor, like they would engineering or accounting. Most people think, you'd have to study engineering, you'd have to study accounting. Far too many people think, I said yes to stuff. I understand persuasion. But here's the problem. The problem is that most people have no idea why they actually say yes to something.
Yeah, I think persuasion can often be mistaken, for people who are thinking about it, can be mistaken as manipulation, which it's not. It's a lot more nuanced than that. What exactly are some of the techniques that you use to get people to focus on it as a skill versus just something that some people are good at?
Well, first things first, let's set some ground rules and some definitions, right, so we can kind of sort this stuff out. When I think of persuasion, I think of persuasion as ethically winning the hearts and minds of your target. Never manipulative, never underhanded. Now, of course, if you were to use some of these ideas or techniques in an underhanded way, could you get someone to say yes? Absolutely. But you'll only get them to say yes once. And that's not how people build long-lived careers. I really think of users of persuasion, they really fall into three categories, right? One is the Machiavellian, right? The person that we've just talked about using something in an underhanded way. The other is mindless. The other person who, persuasion opportunities present themselves, but we fumble them away. And then third would be savvy users of persuasion. Those people who recognize how they can ethically win the hearts and minds of their targets. So that's what I think about when I think about persuasion, and that's how we talk about things.
And just to let my listeners know, we're here with Mark Rodgers. He is with Peak Performance Business Group. And you are keynoting the lunchtime keynote for the PMI Madison Professional Development Day this May 16th, 2013. I will be there as well, and I look forward to meeting you in person. And I'm really interested in hearing, because your keynote is about why persuasion matters. And And you were talking about those three groups. I was trying to get into the nature versus nurture kind of thing, whereas some people are just naturally persuasive and they don't know why, or they just are. It's like charm. Some people are naturally charming, and then other people are, work on their charm and work on their persuasion. Is there something that someone who is not naturally persuasive can do to learn some of these skills?
Absolutely, and you're right. Persuasion Matters is the title of our after lunch talk, and it's the title of our website. And when you think about Persuasion Matters, you really need to think about three areas. So here's what you should do. Craig, do you have a pencil and a piece of paper right now, or a pen, something to write with and something to write on?
Well, it's the 21st century. I have an iPad.
I need you to be able to make a drawing.
I can do that.
To make a drawing.
Hold on, I do draw something. I play that all the time. So yes, go right ahead.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so this is Mark's persuasion realms. So draw a 3-circle Venn diagram. So just 3 overlapping circles, if you will.
Got it. I even have a nice little weird triangle in the middle.
Fantastic. So one circle you could label credibility. Another circle you could label language. Another circle you could label process. These are the 3 dominant skill sets I believe people have to have if they want to hear yes more often. So see where the credibility circle and the process circle overlap? Write the number 1 in there. Well, if you've got credibility and process but no language, that means you're mute. Where the credibility circle and the language circle overlap, put another 2 in there. The number 2 in there. That means you can't move. You've got credibility and language, but you can't move forward. In the area where the process and the language circle overlap, that's number 3. That's no trust. But in the middle, where all 3 of these realms intersect, that's where you can create what I call perpetual yes.
Now, of those 3, is there credibility is something you have to earn? Language is something that you can learn naturally. Some people just naturally know how to talk. So but that process, I think, is where a lot of people get hung up on, because it's systems and how to do things is where a lot of people kind of get caught up. So, is there a process that we can do so we can make sure that our credibility and language can sync up?
Yeah, well, first of all, I respectfully disagree with your premise.
That's fine.
and here's why. A lot of people think that credibility just happens to them. I couldn't disagree more. Credibility is a skill that you can consciously improve. The other, language. Language is a skill too. A lot of people don't use language well. If you want to be persuasive, you have to learn to speak in metaphor, simile, analogy. You have to be familiar with figures of speech, like a chiasmus. This is all part and parcel of what we're going to be talking about the PMI session in both our after lunch session and in our breakout session. And process. The piece now in terms of process is that really persuasion success is a series of small agreements. A lot of people just think that there's one big moment. There is not. There is really a series of small agreements that have to happen. I often tell people it's what you do before you do that does it. The metaphor that I like to use is you need to take your target by the hand and with your flashlight lead them through the darkness. All right, you ready for one more?
I'm ready.
Okay, good. So now, this is kind of like art class today with you, Craig. This is a lot of fun. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to draw a basic double access chart. Okay. So 2 intersecting lines. On the left side, I want you to write give. On the top of this chart, I want you to write take. On the top of give, on the left-hand side, put a plus. On the bottom of give, make a minus. To the left of the word take, a minus sign. To the right of the word take, a plus sign. This is Mark's reciprocity guide. One of the fundamental tenets of persuasion is the principle of reciprocity. There is not one single society on the planet that does not teach its members about this idea of give and take. But here's the problem. The problem is that in the upper left-hand quadrant, if you give but don't take, that makes you a martyr. And what did the writer George Ade say, don't feel bad for martyrs because they love the work.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a long-lived career. If you, in the lower left-hand quadrant, if you don't give and you don't take, that means you've got untapped potential. In the lower right-hand corner, if you don't give but you take, that makes you Machiavellian. But in the upper right-hand corner, if you both give generously and take from others, so having this great exchange of ideas and effort between you and the people that you interact with, both individually and organizationally, in that upper right-hand quadrant, this is where you get it.
Yeah.
This is where it makes sense.
And I never understood the concept of martyrs because, you make this because you're never around to get all the credit.
That's exactly right.
You make the big sacrifice, but what for? No, you're not going to know what happened.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, and I find a lot of people are in that untapped, untapped area where they give a lot, but they don't necessarily take because they don't feel like they should. I think that it's okay to be able to take sometimes.
That's exactly right. And as a matter of fact, what studies actually show, Craig, and you're bringing up a very important point here. Have you ever done a favor for someone and they've tried to repay you, but you kind of, thinking you were being magnanimous, you said, well, no need to repay me. I can do for you, but you don't do for me. I think we've all done that at some point. The problem with that is we feel like we're being magnanimous, but what actually happens is the other person resents you.
Well, they feel indebted.
They like you less because they felt indebted to you and you would not permit them to repay you back. So what happens is actually the reverse of what you were trying to create. So if you want your career, your work life, and by the way, your personal life to work, give generously and be willing to accept the return on your efforts as well. And that's the concept of reciprocity.
Well, you've certainly given quite a bit already, and this is just a tiny fraction of what they can see on May 16th. Where can listeners who may not be able to attend, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. Go to persuasionmatters.com. That's persuasionmatters.com. And we have free videos, free articles, case studies. Sign up for the newsletter. We have all sorts of ways that we can help you hear yes more often.
Well, this was a great give and take today, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Craig.
That's our show for this week. I want to thank Mark again for coming on the show. You can see Mark, Michael Redmond, and Gina Abudi, as well as myself, at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin, May 16th, 2013. Also, head over to iTunes and leave a review or a 5-star rating. You can always email me at craig@speakercraigprice.com, or you can follow the show on Twitter at RealityCheckPod. See you next week.